What's up guys, Skottyy here from the Blue Coconut family and welcome back to another Cities Skylines tutorial. Today we're going to be covering quite a trivial topic and I'm amazed I haven't done it already. So it's on a similar theme of we are now looking at some of the electricity and power generations within the game, and this is something that loads of people have already asked for. So this is how do you make a hydropower plant, or some people may know it as the dam. So how do you make one of those? What's the give? What makes it work? What doesn't make it work? Why isn't mine working? All of these hopefully will be answered in the next couple of minutes. So in order to start planning and building a dam, you need to work out where you're going to put it. You can't just put a dam anywhere and expect it to work. It's not how they operate. So I already have a dam in my city. I've built mine at the end of the river. Now I built this early on because I knew that it'd be a good place to have it and it's a good place to produce some electricity. Now, that's a good place, absolutely. Now, why is it a good place? There are a couple of reasons. One, the water's flowing. If the water's flowing, it means that it will have to travel through the dam. And it also means if it's flowing, that if you place a dam down, it will produce a reservoir behind it that it can then use as kind of a storage for the electricity as it goes through. So why can't I place a dam anywhere? Well, as I've said, it requires some flowing water and it requires a little bit of water pressure. So I did have, if you've watched some of my other videos, a big dam across here. I did build one, but that was artificial. I put some artificial water sources in here and I built it up, and it was mainly there to look pretty. I've removed it because it was causing a couple of problems in the game, making it run a little bit slower, so I've removed that for now. But I now want a second place to build a dam. So I need to look into my city, where is a good place to build one? So I've been looking around, and a couple of things you've got to think about. One is, as I said, is the water flowing? Is it a good place for the dam to be for the water flowing? Absolutely, it's something very important. Two, the water, when you place a dam in somewhere, the water which is upstream of it will become a lot deeper, because as the water gets to the dam, it will stop and slow down until it is released through the dam, so you're going to get a huge build-up of water behind it. So make sure that you are not going to cause any severe flooding upstream of your dam. So I can see here that if I built my dam here, for example, which I'm looking at is quite good, then I can see that most of these are really high sided here up until you get to about here, and then it will stop. But I reckon if I build my dam here, the water backlog, you're not going to see too much effect up here, and if you are, then it's going to be quite minimal, I reckon, up here. And it's something that we can always come back to in the future, and we can always move these if it does become a big issue. But at this point, I feel that's pretty good. Another example is if, for example, this didn't have a dam in here and I didn't know that already this was high. If I built the dam across here, for example, then I'd put in danger, the railway line, this ferry depot, most of this city, because it would flood most of this region here. So it's something to consider quite heavily. Now, the next thing is, if you've got water which is being held upstream, then the next issue you have is there's going to be a lack of water downstream. Now, at first that might sound, it doesn't sound like a big issue. What do you mean, you get less water at the bottom of the stream? Why is that a problem? Now, you can see the effects of it here. I do not have nearly as much water going into this as I have coming out. And so the water level is a lot lower, as you can imagine. Now, it's not a massive issue until you consider, what do you remove from that water? What facilities do you have in and around that water that might need that water depth or maybe that water width? And there's two things to consider, and I can see both of them right in my city now. One of them is ferries. If you've got ferries which travel around your city, think about if you drop the water level by even a couple of meters, will they be affected? Okay, so I can have a look at this. So I don't think, in this section, I don't think so, because it's a case of, I know this is a very deep river, so if the water dropped, I don't think it would be affected. One place I think it might be affected is potentially this channel. This channel, even though it's deep, I think this bit might dry out. But that's something we can look at in the future, and if it does become a big problem, we can always remove the dam in the future. But these are things you need to really consider. So, next thing also is water. These actually matter where they are placed. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the water at the bottom of this pipe is where it's sucked from. So if this dropped a couple of meters, you're potentially might be the fact that these water pipes are no longer in that fresh water. Which, okay, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. There's got a couple of options there. You can move them to be upstream of the dam. Great, absolutely fine. 2, you can dig the ground around them so that they are always going to be in the water, so that you can artificially make them at the point inside the river that the water will get to. Now that's normally the option I have, because placing them upstream of the dam has a couple of side effects. 1, if you have got something potentially upstream that will pollute the river, of pollution or things like that, maybe a sewage pipe that you forgot about, or maybe some industrial areas that are polluting the river, then the sudden build-up of water and making it go slow will cause that pollution to build up into a lot stronger concentration upstream, because it is moving slower than it is downstream moving faster. So the likelihood of your citizens becoming sick because of the water is a lot higher. Definitely something to consider. So once you've got those considered, all of those things considered, you can start planning and building your dam. So I already think I'm going to build mine here, because I think I can move those, and I don't think it's going to affect my ferries too much, but we can always look at those if it does. So then, how do you build your dam? So you go into the electricity tab and you come along to this little section here, hydropower plant. Now it's not something you place. You don't place your dam in somewhere. You've got to build it, and when you build it, you get this lovely little terrain data map. Now the terrain data map is very useful. It tells you the levels of everything. It gives you contours and things like that across your map. So placing your dam, you do it from one side of the ravine to the other. Now you want to keep these the same sort of size, same sort of height, and you want to make these considered to be lower than a point of failure upstream. So I can see point of failure upstream for me is going to be that bridge. I do not want the water going above the level of that bridge, because it's going to cause some major issues. So quite handily, the next stage up of my landscape table is this green line here. So I can see that that is below both sides of the bridge. So if I have the top of my dam there, then that means the point of failure is below the point of failure of upstream. Perfect. Okay. So next point, you want to make sure that they are fairly steep sides of the ravine or the place you're building the dam, because if they are too flat, then you're not going to be able to complete the dam. It's going to say it's incompatible terrain and things like that, and you're getting issues. Now the next thing to consider is similar to the start, is flowing of river. Now if your river is flowing the wrong direction, your dam is not going to work. It is going to be built in the opposite direction. It's just going to hold water rather than let water through it. And you'll see as we build it that it will actually form a curve upstream, so it will kind of back its curve into the force of a river, and it's really important which way round that is, because if it's the wrong way round, your dam will not work, or your hydropower plant will not work. So in order to build your dam, you find your point on one bank, you click, and you can see there you've placed your first bit. Then you're building it. It's like a spine tool again. So as you place it, it says water required, so it has to go over water. And as you bring it across water, you'll see, it says slope too steep, and that's because it is going from here downwards. It is too steep. But as you bring it up the other side, and you bring it to the point close to where it is, you'll see that it is gone green and it is good. Now, if we go above, you'll see what exactly I mean about that curve. There. Now try to make your dam look nice, so it looks kind of, it curves into the river. Keep it flat. I have seen dams where they're like that, and maybe they go across like this or something like that, whatever, which is fine. That functions, but it just doesn't look that nice. Now the next thing to consider is on your little construction tab here. It's got a couple of things. Construction cost. This will cost me 92,000 credits or monies to build. Now that is variable. If I bring this down, you can see that down here it cost me only 88,000, whereas up here it cost me 92. But 96. There we go. 100,000, and so on and so forth. And obviously, the bigger the dam, the more expensive it costs. Also, the same for your variable of ongoing costs. You will only know what that is when you build it. So it can be fairly expensive. Now the other thing is its production value. Now a dam isn't a set production value of electricity. They are variable. So depending on the size of the dam and the flow of the water, is very important, is how much electricity they'll produce. And they aren't constant at that rate. So you can see there it says estimated production 320 megawatts, which is loads. That is a lot of energy you're going to be producing. But that might not be all the same. If your river, for example, dries up, or you get a stop in flow, for example, or things like that, that hinders the production of the flow rate through your dam, then that will drop. That will not work. And that's only an estimate. It might not even produce that because the river just isn't the right conditions. You haven't found the right point. If that is the case, build it somewhere else. Find somewhere else. Alter the river. Change it. Or even don't build a dam there. There's a lot of things that can that places the dams work, and there's a lot of places where dams do not work. So I'm going to build it. To build it, you just click the second point, and at first you'll see that the dam goes black, and that's because it is not working. The other thing you will notice is there's a road on top. Absolutely, there's a road on top. It acts as a bridge in itself. Now, if you can find a decent use of that road, because it is a very small road, then go ahead. I can't. It's very small, and it often builds it in awkward places because your dam is never somewhere useful. Absolutely is never somewhere useful. But once you've got that in place and it then functions, it says it's not operating right now, and that's because there's not enough pressure. And then all of a sudden it will just release it as the pressure builds up. But we can now start seeing all of those things we were thinking about beforehand are now being put into practice. The water upstream has now gone really deep, and we can see that it's building by the minute, whereas the water downstream is going away very, very quickly. Now you may be panicking at this point of thinking, oh no, my water's gone. I'm going to be losing all of my water supply. So there's the water, water's no longer on the tap. That's bad. My water production rate is now dropping, essentially. These are now no longer sucking. Oh, that's really not good. And yeah, you'd be dead right. This is a point where you think, have I made the right call? Is this the right thing I've done? And you will not know until your dam properly starts working. So we can follow this on for now. So we can see here now my little channel here is now flowing all the water out because it's now the pressure out here is actually a lot less because there is no water in the main channel rather than it is in here. And we can see a couple of other problems now starting to face of a sense of we're now approaching a bit of a ferry. So where I said it might not be a massive issue, now it probably is, because these ferries are now going to have no water in them. Now I know the river goes a lot deeper here, it cuts into a channel, but that's a big issue. So what's happening upstream? So we can now start seeing that the river is definitely getting deeper and deeper. The dam is still not operating. That's nothing you can do. The dam has to have the right conditions in order to operate, and that's basically the right kind of pressure and the build-up of water behind it in order for it to flow. So, and it chooses itself. It really does. It's really kind of not constant. But we can see here that I think my calculations were slightly inaccurate, where I said upstream will not be too much of a problem because this is already going a lot higher than I reckoned. This is already starting to flood some land. We're not getting any flow through the dam yet. It's still sitting there. I'm losing a lot of water downstream, which is really not good. We're starting to flood some land here, which means that essentially we can see the height of the water building up as we go along. So it's already building up a lot. So it's going to head up this river, and at my best bet it's going to flood most of this little land here. So in my mind, I don't think that was a good place to build a dam, but I think it's definitely worth me showing you this. The other point of failure I didn't take into consideration is this. Now, this river is actually on top of a hill, And we can see here that this is a ridge line here. Not only will it be flooding this road, but if it does go over, which it definitely will, it's going to be going down into this valley here, and it's going to be flooding this region. Now, luckily for me, there's nothing down in this region, but this is a region I'm planning in the future to do my university and the campus area in, and I'll be doing a video on that in the future. But luckily I haven't built anything there for now, but if I had, it's about to all be flooded and really seriously flooded. And this is all backing up and is now flooding down into that valley. And the other issue that is going to have is, because that is now found a release point of pressure, it means that actually the pressure from up this river is now going to be flowing down here because it's released rather than down the dam. So that's even worse news for my downstream river, because I've now got, here we go, boats which are now ground to a halt. And the other issue it's going to have is, because this is no longer getting a steady flow of water, we can already see the water level has dropped massively. These islands, which weren't, they were, underwater, you could barely see them, only rocks above the water were actually visible. Whereas they had tons of pressure in this river, and we had water flowing quite nicely through this point. Now there's not. So what this is going to do, and it's going to happen in the next couple of minutes, is this is then just going to back up. This means that this dam will no longer function. So it means that then if you had a knock-on chain down a river, this is then going to make that problem even worse. So it's not a massive problem for me because this is the ocean, so all it's going to do is the ocean is just going to come back in and it's just going to fill up. It's not going to be a problem for me. But you can imagine if this was a lake and a river and things relied on it, then it is not going to function anymore. You're going to have a similar problem that we've got with the other dam. So we'll just wait for this to all of a sudden drop the pressure, which is going to happen any second. And this is just going to go, nope, there we go. Not operating. And we're going to see all of a sudden that water on that right hand side just all disappear. As now that river has basically dried up. It is no longer functioning. So you can see there the downside of having a dam. So this dam here was perfect for the operation. This location for a dam, not perfect at all. And I did that on purpose. So you may be thinking, why is this a tutorial if you're showing me something that isn't functioning? It's the best way to show you how a dam functions. I've been thinking for a long time, how can I show you how a dam works? And it's by me showing you how a dam doesn't work is the best way of me showing you. So with this in mind, please plan your dam a lot better. Now, a better place for me to have my dam would have been across here, but I don't think I would have had the pressure coming from in here as much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually release this dam because it's going to be causing too many issues downstream. So this is now just going to release all that pressure, and we can see here now this little area is now flooded, and it's actually, whereas I said before it's not really a big issue, I think it is because it's now coming into this region here. So actually it is going to be a massive issue. We've now released that water, so it's now flowing properly, which hopefully means that downstream of my river will now function again properly. We can now see the sea and the ocean is now actually flooding back into that region of where the dam water was. My ferries have all ground to a halt, so that's that industry done. My water isn't picking up water there. One of these isn't picking up water, so I'm just down to one. These aren't picking up water, so that means my water availability is down to only a couple, which is not good. You can basically see that the whole thing has been a disaster at this point. I've got 2 water suction points which is actually functioning still, and that's it. This one actually, this one is, but it isn't connected up to, oh no, it's connected to the main grid, so I've got 3 functioning, so that's how I'm able to keep my water. So yeah, disaster on the dam. A better point would be definitely to build my dam up here, and this is the point I had predicted to build it. But we can see that it's going to be once again tricky. This is a great example on make sure you build your slopes steep, or make sure your slopes on either side are exactly the same sort of height. So I'm going to build this here. But again, this is probably going to have a similar problem where downstream is going to be pretty thin, so this then might come out of favour, and so on and so forth. But these are all things to consider, and the best way of learning is learning through mistakes and trial and error. So absolutely, give it a go. If you get any problems with dams and stuff, I have built proper ones in the past. You know, the one down here is a good example, and such. And I've done some in my actual proper city. So if you have any problems and you get stuck, please put a comment below, and I'll try to respond to you to help you out. But yeah, hope that's been useful for you guys, seeing exactly how a dam doesn't work. Yeah, pretty much. If it has, hit that like button. Big thumbs up for dams. And yeah, pop some comments below and how you think it went, and how do you think your dam would have worked better. Do you think this one upriver for me now is going to work? Put a comment below. Yeah, also hit that subscribe button. You'll get to see all my other videos which come out. I know about 1% of you is actually subscribed, so what are you doing? Subscribe, it only takes a second. But yeah, with that being said, I've been Scotty from a Blue Coconut family. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye for now.